All right, so we have closed the breakout rooms, and we'll have everyone back in just a moment. Um, Awesome, awesome. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. I really appreciate everyone taking the opportunity to review the Ready for Rickle framework. I'm curious, by a show of hands or emojis on the reactions, how many of you have seen the Ready for Rickle framework before? Oh, okay, okay. Well, I definitely am hopeful that that was something enlightening to review. We're going to talk about it more now. And please feel free to unmute yourself. I think this is where we really will have an opportunity to learn more together. And that is, so how might incorporate the following element impact building safety in your classroom? So the prompt here is awareness. I'm not certain if you all decided to read by quadrant or if anyone in your group wants to share out, but we have 4 of these to review. So maybe if someone wants to share out on awareness. Any thoughts? You can feel free to type in the chat or put yourself on the voice.
I'll say something. I took this quadrant. My name's Yvette, and I teach at a charter school. And the first thing that came to my mind reading all the bullet points was learning about the whole child, not just the individual child, because I know the pedagogy at our site is teaching the whole child. So we offer a lot of services to the families, and we get to know the families and where they come from. And this just kind of in a little short synopsis reminds me of really getting to be aware of the whole child, where they come from, their language, their background, their struggles, and really understanding how we can support them.
Wow, wow, absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks for sharing that. And hey, Yvette, it's great that you joined us today. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Omar. I was excited to join.
That's awesome. Oh, there's a question here. What are the 3 levels of culture? That's awesome. That's awesome. You know, I definitely will make a note. I'll pull that from the book. I don't want to speak off the hip, and I will share that up at the beginning of tomorrow. In fact, let me write that down. All right, so we're going to move on to the next. Can we call it a quadrant? I started to say Q1, Q2, but I don't know. All right, here's one here is quite interesting. It's on information processing. You can also feel free to type it in the chat or to hop on the voice, whatever you'd like.
I'll say something about this one. Hi, I'm Rochelle. I work at Lamson in Orange Unified. So I had this section. Hi, Omar. So I think one of the things, and I know we've talked about this a lot at our school, is the formative assessments and the feedback. And I think that giving the kids the time to process, and then also time to, I think a lot of times we get so caught up with, we have so much to do that we give the assignment, we get it turned in, we get it back. And sometimes that's it. And we forget that we have to like give them some sort of feedback, and then maybe give them time to fix and then come back to us. So I think that is something important to remember, that we need to constantly be giving them feedback and giving them a chance to process the information and things like that. So that was something I took away from that.
No, absolutely. And I say yes, and it's about thinking about ways we can have ways to build in time and space for those things to happen. Because you know, being someone that goes to campuses all over, you often get a sense that things are moving, right? Things are moving so quick. And what you're describing is something that sounds like it's going to require a pause for a moment and thinking about how you can really create that opportunity for that. And then also, how might we do that virtually is a whole different conversation, I think, as well, right? All right, so this next element that we'll discuss is community of learners and learning environment. Might someone have any thoughts to share or any comments on the ideas around how this can support building safety? In fact, this one here actually inspired the activity we're going to engage in now after we go through our following one, and really thinking about opportunities for us to make space for student voice and agency. All right, so as we think about this, it couldn't help but force us to ask ourselves, you know, what might be some strategies to plan for equity and to build intellectual safety amongst diverse learners. Now, one of the reasons I think this next activity is quite interesting. Now, I am, how can I say this, edgy borrowing this strategy because it's something I got from a training and I thought this is so impactful. I've got to find a way to share this. And we're going to engage in it right now. And it is called a Cultural Affinity Map. So here's what happened. We were in the training room. There were about 40 of us in the space, all from different places, all from different walks of life. And the person talked to us about the importance of establishing structures in your classroom. And he talked about the importance of using them in intentional ways. Well, in this case, the structure was a music cue, right? So for example, every time something happens in the classroom or they're transitioning, the teacher would play a music cue. So I almost was tempted to do it when you guys came back, but I couldn't find the song where the person played "Welcome Back, Welcome Back, Welcome Back." I can't sing, but you get the point. So the idea right now is, though, as we think about how we can engage our learners, this one here was so fascinating. So we got 4 students at a chart. They created their grid, and it had these 4 prompts, right? Now, I did revise the lower left-hand one because I want to model what it could look like in schools, but it was, what are you listening to, right? Maybe it's NPR, maybe it's a music or a rock song or whatever, right? The other one is what you watching. You could put what you're streaming. Maybe they're looking at YouTube. Maybe they're looking at, you know, some streamer or whatever. Maybe they're looking at Netflix. Who knows, right? And the other one actually was what pisses you off. But for the purposes of thinking about this for educators, the graphic I chose, I use what ticks you off, right? I don't like it when people don't share or whatever one might share, right? And then the 4th is what's up with the fam. Now, as we engage in this activity, it was so interesting because right within the group of 4, we all had different responses, right? Maybe you have a student that's from a foster home. Maybe you have a student that's from a home, and it's in a myriad of ways, who knows, right? And every other question in between. But the magic really happened when they played the music cue and the students began to go through the gallery walk, when they began to discover that, hey, we all have ways to respond to these prompts. And while all of our responses may be different, right, we all can respond. And along the way, we're learning more about each other in the space, right? So the song that the trainer used was the Beyonce song, "To the Left, to the Left." So the idea was he would have the group together. They would be at the chart. They would go through this activity. Then after a few minutes, they play to the left of the left, and they would go on and go through it. And the idea is, right, as we're talking about what are some ways we can create structures, create opportunities for students to have voice and agency, students to be able to build that safety in the space. Because we all know, as we go down this journey of computer science, right, the content is going to become rigorous. It's going to become more contemplative. And we want our students to be able to have that safety, that community, and that opportunity for the broadest intellectual capacity they might have to be able to engage that, which is why I looked at that last graphic around learning community and thought about that as a great place to start at the beginning of your year for engaging all of your learners. So here's what it's going to look like for us. If you've got access to the presentation, you'll see on the slide, the idea is we would go ahead and have you click on the link. The number of the breakout room you go to will be the number of the slide you go to. You would go ahead and you would respond to those questions, those prompts, right? And then after your breakout room completed those 4 quadrants on your own, you would then take a virtual gallery walk through the other breakout room grids. I don't know if 10 minutes is too long for doing this online. I don't know if this is, I'm practicing. Admittedly, this happened in the classroom in the physical space, and we physically did this to build that community at safety in the space. But I'm trying to emulate this, right, as a modification for our new reality. So before we begin this, I'm wondering, might anyone have any questions? Feel free to type in the chat or go on to virtual. Okay, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to practice again. I don't know if the breakout rooms will be the same. It looks like they might. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to break out now. Not break out of here, but we're going to break out into a breakout room, and we'll engage in that now. I'm going to open the rooms now, then I'll start the timer. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, thank you. Well, welcome back. Hopefully, everyone had a chance. In fact, everyone's about back in the room. Just one moment, please. So now that we've had an opportunity to engage in that, I'm hopeful that each of you had a chance to not only participate, but then maybe take a virtual gallery walk. Even though we couldn't play the to the left music, maybe you thought of it as you went through the different ones. But I'm curious, how might you envision the impact of integrating an activity like this into your classroom and support building community in your classroom? Please feel free to share out maybe any reflections you might have or thoughts, either in the chat or out loud.
So this is Randy. I think our group, when we got together, we were a bit confused. So that automatically brought us together and saying, so what were we supposed to do? I think some of us weren't paying attention. So those of us who were paying attention helped out. And then as we started to go around that round robin, we started to have discussions about life and all the other things that were going on. So it was kind of nice. It was a great way to actually just have informal, less restrictive and less scary conversations.
Wow, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Might others have any thoughts to share? Any reflections?
Something that came up in our room, it was interesting how we were each typing at the same time, but then we would like follow up and say, oh, that's also, I have that in common also, even though we didn't type it, we had a lot in common.
Oh, wow. That's very positive, to find that there are things that one connects on without necessarily initially thinking in that way. What I'm doing right now is just really trying to catalog some of what you're sharing. Someone here says, I think the students would enjoy reading each other's responses and finding things that they had in common. I like seeing what others are doing too. We can see what's in common or ask about each other. Absolutely. And I think that is one of the many benefits of doing this type of activity. And one of the things that I really felt was very impactful as we think about ways to support students as they're going through their math, going through their science, going through their computer science, curriculum. So I do know that our time is limited, so I do want to make sure I share this. We're going to be covering things along the lines of what are the computer science core concepts and practices? How are they broken down? And we'll understand more about the ways in which the concepts and subconcepts work together. We're also going to talk about one of the most considered impacts of the technologies that we have in the world, right? So this here is one of the substandards that we won't be able to dive into today for time, but it really is looking at the impacts of computing, right? Culture, social interactions, safety, law, and ethics. That's written right into our standards. But I want to make sure I give an opportunity to introduce who's going to be really supporting us as we continue through this journey of learning together over the rest of the week. And that is our friends with Pop Fizz. I would like to welcome Jane Lee and Nisa, as well as Alan, as they are friends that I really have discovered over this journey of wanting to learn more about computer science. I learned about them through their collaboration with the Florida State Board of Education and what they're doing to support them to implement computer science across that state. So if you wouldn't mind, I'd take the opportunity now to introduce them. Jane, Nisa, Alan, please do share, and we're looking forward to learning as well.
Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Jane. I am the CEO and co-founder of Pop Fizz, and I'm so glad to be here working with awesome Omar. And I grew up in Glendale, just an hour away from Orange County, I believe. And I taught computer science at LaGuardia Community College, one of the most diverse institutions in the world in New York City, and Newark, NJIT. So when we discussed designing the CS 5-day coding bootcamp with you guys, this topic really hit home run with me. And so for the 5 days, the Hammond framework on the Ready for Rigor, that's going to be our overarching theme for the whole 5 days. And Omar briefly explained that we'll be looking at JavaScript to code instead of using Python. And we had to take that route because of the learning curve. And by the end of the 5th day, you will be creating a machine learning AI that is going to distinguish many different things, and you're going to train it to categorize different things. And we'll also look at algorithmic biases and the kinds of things that we should have our students be aware of. So that is the 5 days and myself. And so in our team, we also have Alan and Nisa joining us. Nisa will be leading one of the sessions tomorrow in the live webinar. Do you guys want to say hello?
Sure. Yeah, so I'm Alan, and I help Jane with account management and support for the California area. I'm actually based out of Santa Fe, New Mexico, and I'm here to help everyone get set up on Pop Fizz. And I'll share a group login code in the chat once more just so everybody can get the course added to their dashboard.
Cool. Hi, everybody. I'm Nisa. I'm the marketing manager at Pop Fizz, and I'm based in New York. Tomorrow we'll be focused on more of the cultural aspect of CS education, and also touching on race in that.
Awesome, awesome. Well, I really appreciate everyone for joining us today. I'm looking forward to having us come together tomorrow. In the chat, I did find a link. Listen, I did not have a chance to vet this link at all, but I figured I'd at least share it and share that I haven't had a chance to vet it. But it talked about a little bit of the 3 levels of culture. It isn't from Zaretta Hammond's book, but it did give us some information. I'll pull Zaretta Hammond's resource and then share that out tomorrow, but thought I would at least offer something for you to look at, given it did seem to give some context that was very similar to what she was sharing. So if there aren't any further questions, we're going to get out here right on time at 4 o'clock. I want to thank everyone for joining us, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow at 3. Thank you all. Have a wonderful day. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Omar.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks, Omar.
Absolutely. Hey there, Alan.